What I've kind of seen a little bit in this past week or two, Mazen, as we've talked with some CEOs, coached some, advised some. I'm going to take it to depression. So just to gear you up. So
Hmm.
what I've noticed is that, and not that I'm qualified to diagnose depression but if I had a checklist and some of the things that people are telling me, kind of going down that checklist, it seems like there's some overlap, at least, in some of the ways that we traditionally understand depression. Um, I also, from what I understand, is that depression can look very different in each individual. So instead of us saying like, oh, it always looks like one way for every person, you're on a couch or whatever, different people might feel that level of disconnect in different ways. Um, but I do wonder, so because I don't know, and I don't think there's any studies on this that I've seen, and I'm not qualified to make the characterization, but I do wonder, so I have a hypothesis, and I would love our scientist Mazen to weigh in anecdotally based on what you've seen. If a lot of CEOs who, even though are active and do their jobs, if there are some signals or signs of depression. So, Mazen, what have you observed? You're a doctor in neuroscience, you've studied biology, physiology, so you have much more of a probably angle on this than I do, more qualified perception. What have you noticed?
First, I would like to define it. Like the word depression is it can go into the semantic of a concept, right? Like any other mental health, anxiety, depression, psychosis. We tend to say, "I am depressed. I have anxious." Like we use the word "I am" and then use those of mental health thing in front. We start to identify with them. So first, I really disclaimer. I really want to explain and define that everything that's mental and emotional disorder or that really bring a certain, yeah, we're uncomfortable with something, they are not who we are. They are only an episode. So this is, first of all, I like to call it depressive episode or depressive phase. And there's something called depressive mood that we all might go through, a small depressive mood or blues, which is the word blues is one of the words. Like I have a small blues, it might stay for from hours or a day. So this is not a full depressive episode, but depressive episode normally it goes around 2 weeks, and then it fades away, and then it might repeat, and it fades away, it might repeat until one reaches a certain point of major depression. Is like going often into phases and episodes of depression, and then so nothing is generalized in that sense. What we see, what we notice with some folks, with some people we work with, and some acquaintances, it's, yeah, it's kind of like this gambling in the emotions. It's the cocktails of emotions that really might like lead to a different outcome. Emotional emotional entanglement within ourselves that will look like, yes, depressive episode. That was the obvious one we have noticed recently. um, and it's really, they're still focused on the work, but everything around their life gives them zero joy. They cannot connect to their family. They don't have anything that gives them um, pleasure, fun. So all what they see is their work. Uh, you want one would say, "Oh my God, he's a very performant CEO," which is lots of CEO are performant because this is what they were built. This is why they're trusted. They're very, very good leader. They're very good executive beings, executive leaders. But then it comes on spite of the health, and this is where we they get used to it so much. Then they like, I do my job good, and they are actually rewarded by that from the outside, and the board is happy, the investors is happy, the clients are happy. But in them actually, and this is really a red flag to as a leader, executive leader of any sort, not only CEO but of also any sort of departments, when we start to see ourselves, we do not have any more joy being on ourselves. We don't know when we're on ourselves. We don't have joy meeting with people, with family, with kids, with spouses. Sport doesn't have a meaning. Food is, yeah, doesn't have a meaning. This is enough red flag to stop and try to regulate. Ask for support. And I would have said take a small break, but then sometimes there's not space to take a small break. Then all what's needed, reach out for help. Reach out for your HR department if they can connect you with an outside practitioner, someone who can help, a consultant, a coach, or you find someone on the outside who can come and support you. Know that you do not have to travel this road alone. And on top, and that's where comes responsibility. It's really a little bit irresponsible. That's word won't probably, CEOs don't like to see it because they are super responsible. They forgot themselves to really give everything for the company. They forgot to nurture themselves. They become what they hate the most, very irresponsible, because they're gambling with their own health. And things will start to be affected and seen, and they will try to hide it, but they will start to really struggle, and things will show up uh, sooner or later in the outside. So responsibility is to start to nurture oneself while being in that position. When nurturing is missed, is very, 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 very risky for the company.
And so, Krisanna, imagine we have someone we're supporting. It's probably not an imagination because we actually do this and support people all the time. But let's imagine a hypothetical CEO, and they're struggling with many things Mazen mentioned. They have this feeling of, I mean, I am doing my job, I'm executing, I'm working hard, and I feel very disconnected from people around me. I feel very alone. I don't feel like I have connection with my family. Things feel very joyless. There's no joy in my life. Hopeless, meaningless. I'm doing the job because it's my responsibility. But outside of that, I really, I just don't feel a lot, or I feel very disconnected. How would you approach working with someone like that? What might support them?
I feel that these CEOs or someone like this, they've had to listen to so many stakeholders, so many people, and people are they ready to take advice. And I don't think there is someone that is there just to be totally, first of all, listening to them, not analyzing them, just to be there in the space so they can be themselves and to see the humanness in them. So when I have had CEOs come to work with me, but it's more because they already in the past. They know that they need support because they feel on a physical level or something on an emotional level is not in balance. They, first of all, it's about creating a space of rapport and trust and confidentiality that, just to be listened to, and then and also to discover with them what in the past gave them a sense of joy, a sense of freedom. So in the beginning, I hold a space for them just to share, you know, and they feel quite seen and heard for the first time. And that's the first step. And then once they're open to also start to have a program or support them to get on track with having better work lifestyle balance, then I can support them with that. But basically, it's lonely at the top. It's lonely, and if you find good mentors or other people in startups that have CEOs, you want to have a confidentiality. So just listening to them and then not suggesting much, because as a leader, there's a certain pride and this certain status they hold, but just a rapport and holding space really supports.
I would add on that, like, it's really the golden rules that I will share it now. I hope the ones will be hearing. And those has really, really to be respected within oneself. It's really to watch out for the five things. Having enough, not enough, but be able to sleep. Having a routine of sleeping, catching on sleep. Uh, they don't have to sleep I don't know how much, but like, because I know CEOs and executive leaders, they reduce it. Having sleep, because that's the time where the body deals with chronic stress and then goes into this healing default mode. And then really to exercise a few times a week, go for a walk, go for a jog, and go for the gym. You're like, yeah, but I don't have time. I'm like, if we do not have time to take care of the body, the whole body will start to accumulate toxins, will start to accumulate stress. It will start to fail. So it's not a question of options here. And third is nutrition. You're like, but I don't have time to eat good. I'm like, but all of this will influence the physiology, it will influence the emotion, it will influence decision and the way how we deal when we need to solve issues. And then most certainly, but I think CEOs are good in that, but not when they come to their own well-being, to have a certain structure. I'm like, they're very good in structure, but actually even more when it comes to boundary of their sleep, exercise, nutrition, boundary about their meetings, boundary is like, when do they end working on their phone? Do they bring their phone to bed? This is a red flag. So really understand the influence of bringing the phone to bed. That means they're constantly on emergency, they're constantly on survival, and they would never gonna rest. And it's very stressful for the system. And lastly, no man is an island, no human is an island in the sense of social engagement. Like, we need outside of work to have at least one being where we can have a call and just chat for 5-10 minutes, like, just to feel presence. But at least keep something slightly alive where it's not everything transactional. So it was like transactional planning, mapping, leading, probably going for a walk and then speak with random people, something Christiana enjoys doing. She goes in busy weeks where we have a lot to do, we're creating, and I'm like, she wakes before all of us. She goes sit in a cafe, and then where people, the work didn't start yet, she's doing her work, and randomly she have chats with people, and that's her resource. And that's bring her balance. I don't have time to do that because I'm not probably structured in the same way. And then I miss on that. And the problem is, when I miss on that, at a certain point, I feel fed up. And I take a bigger break of like a few hours or an afternoon. And I'm like, I just go strolling around the city. But there's a missing. And I'm like, I miss something. I don't know what it is. And today I was like going like this, and I randomly bumped into a friend. And then we just chatted. I was like, oh my goodness, that's it. Like, we chatted for half an hour. And it was very resourcing. And I was like, it really gave me all the energy to go back and then jump to work and do an amazing day. Finishing tasks.
I do remember, just bringing this up, I worked with a CEO once, but at the time I was living on a boat in Sydney. And I said, if we'd like to meet, we can meet on the boat was moored at the harbor. And I think the fact that he had to come on the boat, it was only 10 minutes away from his work, stepped down on the boat, and we sat on the boat, blew his mind away. And it was just way out of a structured session, that I think that was the greatest resource he had. Like, it opened him up, and it was just something very resourceful to be in a situation like this where there was no control, but it was in nature, and there was the boat, and there was a session there. But I do remember that was quite a resourceful session for the person.